around, over 50,000. If he needed men to be able to um, divide the work. Back to Nehemiah chapter 8 and verse 8. So they read distinctly from the book in the law of Yahweh, and they gave the sense and helped them to understand the reading. And Nehemiah, who was the governor, Ezra the priest and scribe, and the Levites who taught the people, said to all the people, "This day is holy to Yahweh our power. Do not mourn nor weep." So this was it said this was during the 7th month, the first day. And it was a holy consecration, a holy gathering. They were reading the law. So it was somewhat like a recognition of them having to get back on their feet. So they had to tell the people, look, you guys don't cry, don't get emotional. We got to stay focused on what it is we got to do. For all the people wept when they heard the words of the law. So all the people wept, they were getting emotional when they heard the words of the law, realizing that they've gone off. And even when I read this, I was like, man, this is how far our people have, this is how much Jake has been desensitized. This is how much Jake has been desensitized to the fact that they don't even care when they go out there and commit lewd acts. They don't even care when they do all these abominations. It's like they're numb to it. They don't even notice. So when people claim that they love the Lord, but they still shove a rib sandwich down their throat, we not dealing with you. When people claim that they love the Lord, but they still go and eat a pulled pork sandwich, we're not dealing with you. It don't matter who you are. We don't care. If you don't recognize that you're doing things that offend the Lord, and if you don't check it, that's on you. We're not going to continue to act jolly with you. We're gonna hold everybody in their respective places. And I'm speaking for myself first and foremost, but speaking from the examples that the elders and apostles and the men on down have set forth. We're not compromising the law of the Lord or his mercy or his grace or our faith for no nigga who don't want to change. So for y'all who think this is a game, go listen to rap videos. This ain't no entertainment, you know. For all the people wept when they heard the words of the law. And even us being in this truth, realizing certain things that we done, we like, fuck. We like, man, realizing how much we've gone off, realizing the things that we've done that have offended the Lord. We look back and we like, man, are you serious? We kind of got to sit for certain points in time and be like, man, I kind of got to shake certain things off and take the things that I've done in my life in the past as a grain of salt. Don't let those weigh me down. Because, thinking and meditating like, man, the Lord was looking at me that whole time. The Lord was watching me. The Lord was watching me. Same way a father would watch his son. The Lord was watching me like, yo, you're going to have to, like the things that you do they're not hidden. The Lord was watching me through all of those things. But we rejoice because the Lord has brought us into his mercy by him revealing this truth to us. So it doesn't weigh us down. But we still think back like, man, I was really going off. I was really messing up. I was really messing up. I was really messing up. So for those who are seeking to please the Lord, don't let your past weigh you down. Simply brush it off, get back up, and continue to seek to please the Lord. But when I read this, I'm gonna keep it real. When I read this, I cried the first time. Because I was like, man, that they realized what they had done and they were seeking to please the Lord, but they were rejoicing when they were reading the law. They were rejoicing at reading the law. They were weeping and mourning at reading the law. But you got Jakes out here who are just numb, brain dead, don't even got no common sense to not kill nobody, to not sleep with another man's woman, to not shoot drugs in his veins, to not do all of these things and recognize, yo, I gotta stop. Jake don't recognize at a certain point enough is enough. Some of us were going down that path. Not to seem mightier or holier than anybody. Some of us were going down that path. But we bring this truth out. It's been brought before majority of the people that are in our communities. We let it be known that the things that we've done in our past is not right. But Jake is just brain dead. And I'm speaking mainly on the point of these rappers, and mainly on the point of the different industries that suck our people in and spew our people out. Jake don't take it to mind like, damn, they didn't even care about me. This money ain't gonna do nothing for me, you know. And Salakia y'all for the rude tongue, but it's like, man, you really gotta sit and think. Like, I'm thankful that the Lord brought me out of all of those things, because I don't know where I would be, you know. Then he said to them, go your way and eat, drink the sweet. Salakia, go your way, eat the fat, drink the sweet, which meant meat and wine, and send portions to those from whom nothing is prepared. So send portions to those who don't have food. Be charitable. For this day is holy to our Lord. Do not sorrow, for the joy of the Lord, the joy of Yahweh is your strength. So even Ezra and Nehemiah had said, look, don't let it weigh you down. Just be rejoiceful and be joyful that the Lord has opened this truth up to you. Same thing. Just be joyful that the Lord has revealed this truth to you so that you know right from wrong, you know? And that's in turn how some of us were when we came into this truth. You know, some of us for a good amount of time, it took us a minute to be able to get over the things that we did in our life. But when we got over those humps, we were able to rejoice and be excited to be able to explain to others, look, the Lord is going to bring us out of these trials and tribulations. All you got to do is hold on, continue to learn, you know? So the Levites quieted all the people, saying, be still, for the day is holy. Do not be grieved. And all the people went their way to eat and drink and send portions and rejoiced greatly, because they understood the words that were declared to them. So the people understood, and they received the information, and they said, okay, you know. And verse 13 goes into the Feast of the Tabernacles. And during that, I'll get verse 17 and verse 8. I'll get the beginning and the end. I'll just read the whole thing. Now on the second day, the heads of the fathers' houses of all the people, with the priests and the Levites, were gathered to Ezra, the scribe, in order to understand the words of the law. So they gathered together in order to understand, meaning it had to be explained to them. And they found written in the law, which Yahweh had commanded by Moses, that the children of Israel should dwell in booths during the feast of the seventh month, and that they should announce and proclaim in all their cities and in Jerusalem, saying, go out to the mountains and bring olive branches, branches of olive trees, and myrtle branches, palm branches, and branches of leafy trees to the booths, as it is written. So this was a sense of afflicting yourself and getting closer to the Lord. Somewhat isolating yourself so that you could meditate and be away from, you know, the different ways of the world. And then the people went out and brought them and made themselves booths, each one on the roof of his house, or in the country yards, or in the courts of the house of Yahweh, and in the open square of the water gate, and the open square of the gate of Ephraim. So the whole assembly of those who had returned from the captivity made booths and sat under the booths, for since the days of Joshua son of Nun until the day of the children of Israel, that the children of Israel had not done so, and there was very great gladness. Also day by day, from the first day until the last day, he read from the book of the law of Yahweh, and they kept the feast of 7 days. And on the 8th day, there was a sacred assembly according to the prescribed manner. And then chapter 9, Ezra chapter 9, and then I'm going to jump to Shalakia, Nehemiah chapter 9, and then I'm going to jump to Ezra chapter 9 and chapter 10 and wrap up the book of Ezra. And then shortly I'll be wrapping up the book of Nehemiah. The people confess their sins. Now on the 24th day of this month, and I'll go into depth of the signification of them grabbing olive branches of olive trees and myrtle branches, palm branches, and branches of leafy trees. I'll go into the meaning of that. I'm gonna research that more. But shortly after that, Shalakia, during that time they celebrated the Feast of Shalakia, the Feast of Tabernacles. And that's brought up in Numbers chapter 29 and verse 12. On the 15th day of the 7th month, you shall have a holy convocation. You shall do no customary work. You shall keep the feast of the Lord 7 days. You shall present a burnt offering, an offering made by fire as a sweet aroma to Yahweh, 13 young bulls, 2 rams, and 14 lambs in the first year. They shall be without blemish. Their grain offering shall be of fine flour mixed with oil, 3/10 of ephah, for each of the 13 bulls. For each of the 13 bulls, 2/10 for each of the 2 rams, 1/10 for each of the 14 lambs. So they had certain ordinances and certain amounts in which they were to give to the Lord. But seeing how the Israelites were at a low point during the time of the rebuilding, they gave what they could, which is why they went out and grabbed herbs and olive branches. Verse 39, these also present to the Lord at the appointed feast besides your vowed offering and your freewill offering as burnt offerings and your grain offerings as your drink offerings and your peace offerings. So Moses told the children of Israel everything just as Yahweh commanded. So they weren't able to give bulls and lambs, so they gave what they could. And then they kept the feast of they kept the feast 7 days. But the branches were to make booths. The branches were to make booths. And as I said before, I'm gonna see if there's any more information as far as what they may have done during that time. As far as for their offerings. Leviticus chapter 23 and verse 36. For 7 days you shall offer an offering made by fire to Yahweh. On the 8th day you shall have a holy convocation, and you shall offer an offering made by fire to Yahweh. It is a sacred assembly, and you shall do no customary work on it. Okay, here we go. These are the feasts of Yahweh, which you shall proclaim to be holy convocations, to offer an offering made by fire to Yahweh, a burnt offering and a grain offering, a sacrifice of drink offering and drink offering, everything on its day, besides the Sabbath of Yahweh, besides your gifts, besides all your vows, and besides all your free will offering which you have given Yahweh. So you weren't to mix your offerings. You weren't to mix the occasions like, oh, I'm giving this for the Feast of Tabernacles and for my sin offerings. You weren't to do that. Also on the 15th day of the 7th month, when you have gathered in the fruit of the land, you shall keep the feast of Yahweh for 7 days. On the first day there shall be a Sabbath rest, and on the 8th day a Sabbath rest. And you shall take for yourselves on the first day the fruit of beautiful trees. Here we go. The fruit of beautiful trees, branches of palm trees, and the boughs. A bow is a strong branch, the bow of leafy trees, and willows of the brooks. And you shall rejoice before Yahweh your power for 7 days. You shall keep it as a feast to Yahweh for 7 days in the year. It shall be a statute forever in your generations. You shall celebrate it in the 7th month. You shall dwell in booths for 7 days. All who are native Israelites shall dwell in booths, that your generations may know that I made the children of Israel dwell in booths when I brought them out of the land of Egypt. I am Yahweh, your power. So Moses declared to the children of Israel the feast of the Lord. And I'm going to look up that word for booth, simply to get more edification. Leviticus chapter 23 and verse 42. Thicket, Shalakia. It reads thicket, covert, booth, thicket, booth, rude or temporary shelter. So kind of like a little hut, a little tent. And you know, as a child, when you make a tent or a cottage, oh, it says it here. So the Hebrew word is shukah.
Strong's H 5521. Sukkah. Sukkah.
Yeah, sukkah.
And soak. Soak.
It reads a hut or layer, booth, cottage, covert, pavilion, tabernacle, tent. So it was kind of like a small sanctuary so that you could be alone and kind of meditate with yourself, kind of meditate with the Lord, meditate and gather yourself, you know, so that you could kind of build that strong foundation within yourself. But you know, the Israelites would go out and rejoice and have a good time with each other, and then they would go back into their booths and dwell among themselves. But that was during the time of Joshua. During the time of Joshua, when the Israelites were leaving Egypt. Okay. So when the Israelites heard this, first thing they did was went out and gathered what they needed and meditated within themselves and kept the feast of the Lord. Okay. Now Nehemiah chapter 9. Now on the 24th day of this month, the children of Israel, the 24th day of the 7th month, the children of Israel were assembled with fasting, meaning refraining from sex, refraining from food, refraining from the pleasures of the flesh, with fasting and sackcloth, and with dust on their heads, which represents being at a lower stage, a lower state, a lower state of mind, not being not being in the sense of enjoying, or not being in the sense of folly, not being in the sense of mirth, not being in the sense of mirth, but being in the sense of mourning, recognizing, damn, I done went off, I done messed up. I'm seeking for the Lord to forgive me. I'm seeking to do things that please the Lord, being at a lower state in order that you may receive knowledge, being humbled in order that you may be taught. Then those of Israelite lineage separated themselves from all the foreigners, and they stood and confessed their sins and their iniquities of their fathers. And they stood up in their place and read from the book of the law of Yahweh their power for 1/4 of the day. So they stood and read for 1/4 of the day. That's 6 hours. And for another fourth, they confessed and worshiped the Lord their sins. So that's another 6 hours. It may be talking about daylight, but putting it into the sense of 24 hours, it may be talking about the time that the sun was up. So it may be talking about a 12-hour gap. So it may have been 3 hours. 3 hours that they read from the law, and then 3 hours that they prayed to the Lord to forgive them of their sins. Then Joshua, Benai, Kadmiel, Shemaiah, Bunai, Sherebiah, Benai, and Chenani stood on the stairs of the Levites and cried out with a loud voice to Yahweh their power. And the Levites, Jeshua, Kadmiel, Benai, Hashabniah, Sherebiah, Hodijah, Shebaniah, and Petahiah, said, stand up and bless Yahweh your power forever and ever. Blessed be your glorious name, which is exalted above all the blessing and praise. You alone are Yahweh. You have made heavens, the heavens of heavens, with all their hosts, the earth and everything on it, the seas and all that is in it, that is in them. And you preserve them all. The hosts of heaven worship you. You are Yahweh, most high power, who chose Abram and brought him out of Ur of the Chaldeans and gave him the name Abraham. You found his heart faithful before you and made a covenant with him. Now Abraham was technically uncircumcised when the Lord came to him, but the Lord guided him out of his father's household, out of the territory of the Chaldeans, and Abraham was led by faith, by way of faith. And the Lord counted Abraham's faithfulness as righteousness, to give the land of the Canaanites, the Hittites, the Amorites, the Jebusites, the Perizzites, the Jebusites, and the Girgashites, to give it to his descendants. You have performed your words, for you are righteous. And that's where Israel and Jerusalem was established, or where they dwelt, I should say. And throughout the rest of this chapter, this is them praising the Lord of all the things that the Lord has done, all the way down to verse 38. Now I'm going to get Nehemiah chapter 36. I'll start at verse 35. It reads, I'll start at verse 36. It reads, Here we are, servants today, and the land that you give to our fathers to eat its fruit and its bounty. Here we are, servants in it, and it yields much increase to the kings. You have set over us because of our sins. So they recognize that the Lord set kings of other nations over them because of their sins. Also, they have dominion over our bodies and our cattle at their pleasure, and we are in great distress. And because of all this, we make a sure covenant and write it. Our leaders, our Levites, and our priests seal it. So the same, I won't say the same, but we see an example of this being done in Exodus chapter 24. Exodus chapter 24 with Moses. Moses made a covenant, fulfilled the covenant with the children of Israel and the Heavenly Father concerning the altar and the book of the covenant. And this is the Israelites rehearsing or recounting that act, but they're doing it they're doing it from their own will now. They did it from their own will during the time of Moses, but that was set up. That was well, it was from their own will during that time too. Salakia. Both of it was from their own will. But as it reads in Exodus chapter 24 and verse 7, then he took the book of the covenant and read it in the hearing of the people, and they said, all that Yahweh has said we will do, and be obedient. And Moses took the blood and sprinkled it on the book, and sprinkled it on the people, and said, this is the blood of the covenant which Yahweh has made with you according to all these words. So the people did it willingly. They said willingly all the words of the covenant we will do. And then over time, coming into this is around after 465, so it may be around 445. They're making another covenant with the Lord, saying that they will do the words that the Lord has commanded. Shalaki is saying that they will seek to please the Lord. It doesn't give an exact scriptural depiction of what was said in that covenant. Now verse 10, Shalakia chapter 10. Chapter 10 has an account of some of the people that were there. And I'm going to get it for that reason. Now those who placed their seal on the document were Nehemiah the governor, the son of Hakaliah, and Zedekiah, Seraiah, Azariah, Jeremiah. So Jeremiah was there. Jeremiah was also there when Nebuchadnezzar was invading on Jerusalem. So that was around 462. Shalakia 562. So this shows how long men were able to live. And I remind you, the temple was built. If it wasn't built, then it was somewhere close to being built. So this was after 465. So this is over 100 years, close to 100 years, because Nebuchadnezzar invaded Nebuchadnezzar invaded Jerusalem in 587. So for Jeremiah to be there, Jeremiah lived a good chunk of change. Over 100 years. So this is over 120 years after 587. And Jeremiah is there. So Jeremiah is an elder during this time. If that's the same Jeremiah, the Spirit tells me that it is, because he wasn't mentioned throughout Ezra or Nehemiah throughout the books. So he may have been there simply listening and rejoicing, because he may have been elderly. Pashur, Amariah, Malkazah, Hattush, Shebaniah, Maluk, Harim, Meramath, Obadiah, Daniel, Jonathan, Baruch, Meshulam, Abujah, Mejuman, Maaziah, Belgai, and Shemaiah. And then it goes into the priest, going from the tribes of Levi. But fast forwarding, I may get it in another lesson to land back off of this one, but Nehemiah chapter 13 and verse 4 goes into when Nehemiah had to come back and revisit the temple. Nehemiah chapter 13 and 6 tells that. And this is when he found Tobiah, which was from when Sanballat, Tobiah, and the Arabs had been harassing the Israelites during their building. He found Tobiah occupying the room of the grains and the frankincense. He was occupying one of the storerooms. So we had to drive out Tobiah and straighten up Israel and Jerusalem again. I'll get that chapter in the land back. I'll get that chapter in the land back, because it also has meat on it. So they sealed the covenant. And this was after they had separated from their wives. And Ezra chapter 9 and chapter 10 goes into that separation. And it shows how they had to put away their wives from the other nations. So I'm going to end it right there. I'll be back again to touch on Nehemiah chapter 13. I may just get it now. Yeah, I'll get it on the land back, because there may be some other points that I want to throw in as far as cleaning up the lesson. So as a quick briefing, the temple started being rebuilt in 5